Hi all, a great morning. This is VC from VC's Academy. In today's class, we will discuss about stem and what are the modifications which we can observe in the stem. So let's go into the concept without any late. Before going into the concept, if you are visiting my channel for the first time, please subscribe and press the bell icon so that you will get all my videos as notifications. The concept. What is stem? You can see the image of the stem. The ascending part of the axis of the plant, bearing branches, leaves, fruits and flowers is called as stem. So which part of the plant is called as stem? In general, if you talk, we can say that the plant part which is above the ground level is called as stem. But in particular, if you want to define a stem, the ascending part of the axis of the plant which bears branches, leaves, flowers and fruits is termed as stem. The stem is generally green when it is young and becomes woody and dark brown as it grows older. So when we see small plants, we can see that the stem is green in color, and later on as the age of the plant goes, it turns woody and dark brown. It develops from the plumule of the embryo of a germinating seed. So from where the stem develops? The stem develops from the plumule of the embryo of a germinating seed. The radicle and plumule, these two are very important in the growing embryo. Plumule develops into stem and radicle into root, that which we have to remember. Stem bears nodes and internodes. So what stem bears? Stem bears nodes and internodes. You can see the nodes and internodes here. The region where stem bears leaves is called nodes. So where the leaves arise, that part is called as nodes, and the portion between the two nodes is called as internodes or termed as internodes. So what are the important points here? The ascending part of the axis of the plant, that which bears leaves, flowers, fruits and branches is called stem. And stem is generally green when it is young and becomes woody or dark brown as it grows older. It develops from the plumule of the embryo, and stem bears nodes and internodes, and the region where the stem bears leaves is called nodes, and the portion between the two nodes is termed as internodes. Hope you all are understanding the concept. Stem bears buds which may be axillary or terminal. So what bears buds? The stem bears buds. These are of two types. One is axillary and the other one is terminal. The main function of the stem is to spread out branches. So firstly, the main function of the stem is to spread out the branches. Why it spreads branches? The branches will bear leaves, fruits and flowers. And also the stem conducts water, minerals and perform photosynthetic activities. Firstly, it bears branches, and the branches bears leaves, flowers and fruits, and not only that, the stem also conducts water, minerals and perform photosynthesis also. Stem also performs other functions such as storage of food, vegetative propagation and giving mechanical strength and support and protection to the plant. So what are the other functions performed by the stem other than conducting water, minerals and performing photosynthesis? Stem also performs functions such as storage of food, vegetative propagation, giving mechanical support and protection. Coming to the modifications of the stem. So why modifications are observed? The stem may not be typically like what they are expected to be. Generally we know the stem arises and not this, but there are some special adaptations by the stem. Why it takes place? Stems are modified to perform various functions. So why stem is modified? In order to perform various functions, the stems are modified. In some, the plant stem grows into the soil, which is contrary to its normal aerial habit. In some plants, the very first type which we can observe is, in some plants, the plant stem will grow into the soil which is contrary to its normal aerial habit. Generally what happens, the stem grows aerially, but in some plants the stem grows into the soil, and that is one type of modification which we observe. Plant exhibits underground stem modification, aerial stem modification, and so on. So we discuss about aerial stem modification and underground stem modifications. They not only store food materials but also act as organs of perennation. Stem helps in vegetative propagation. Examples: if you take tuber type, it is potato, rhizome, ginger, and turmeric, corm, colocasia, bulb, onions. So these are the few examples. Let us discuss in detail about the aerial stem modifications and underground stem modifications. Aerial stem modifications. So coming to the aerial stem modifications, in several plants the aerial stems show many modifications. So if you observe plants, there are a set of plants which show aerial stem modifications. They show the following modifications. So what are the modifications they show? Stem tendrils, thorns, Phylloclades, Cladiophils, Bulbils. So what are the modifications which we can see in aerial stem in general? Stem tendrils or tendrils, thorns, Phylloclades, Cladiophils, and Bulbils. So we can see the image of the four which I have mentioned: Phylloclades, Cladiodes or Cladiophils, thorns, and stem tendrils. So coming to stem tendrils, you can see the image of the tendril. These are slender spirally coiled structures. So what are tendrils? Tendrils are slender and spirally coiled structures. These develop either from the axillary buds or terminal buds. So from where they develop? They develop either from axillary or terminal buds. These structures mainly help the plant to climb. So what is the main function of the tendrils for plant? Is these structures or these tendrils will mainly help the plant to climb. Examples: axillary stem tendril, we can take gourds and cucurbita. And coming to terminal stem tendrils, we can talk about grapevines. These two are the examples. Like axillary stem tendrils, we have gourds and cucurbita. Terminal stem tendrils, we have grapevines. These tendrils develop from either axillary buds or terminal buds, mainly helps in climbing, and they are spirally coiled structures. These are slender spirally coiled structures. These are the main points about stem tendrils. Coming to thorns. What are thorns? Buds of the stem get modified into hard, woody, straight and pointed structures called thorns. So how to define thorns? Thorns are the modifications of the buds on the stem which turns into hard, woody, straight and pointed structures. This modification is mainly to protect the plant from grazing animals. So why the plant or the stem gets modified into thorns is mainly to protect the plant from grazing animals. That is the reason why thorns are developed by the stems. Example: we have citrus and bougainvillea. And coming to the other one, we have Phylloclade. What are Phylloclades? In plants that which grow in arid regions show some special modifications in their stems. Generally, in this type of modified plants, the stem gets modified into fleshy flattened structures or cylindrically flat or fleshy cylindrical structures or needle-like structures. So these modifications are called as Phylloclades. So the plants which grow in arid regions show special modifications. These special modifications are either fleshy flattened structures or fleshy cylindrical structures or needle-like structures, which we call as Phylloclades. And these Phylloclades contain chlorophyll and carry out photosynthetic activity as their leaves are modified into scale leaves or spines in order to reduce transpiration. We can observe the image here and we can see the Phylloclade, and we can see the spines, which are nothing but the leaves which are of modified structures. These leaves help to reduce the amount of transpiration as the availability of water is less. Coming to the examples of Phylloclade, fleshy flattened stem is Opuntia. In fleshy flattened stem we have the example Opuntia, and fleshy cylindrical structures or cylindrical stem we have Euphorbia, and needle-like structures we have Casuarina. Phylloclades we have three types. One is fleshy flattened, fleshy cylindrical, and needle-like. So flattened one Opuntia, cylindrical Euphorbia, needle-like Casuarina. And coming to Cladiophils, these are very special type of modifications. The branches of the stem in some plants show limited growth and perform photosynthetic activity. The branches of the stem in some plants show limited growth. That limited growth could be to 1 or 2 nodes length, and these perform photosynthetic activity. So why these perform photosynthetic activity? Yes, this is a modification through to which the conditions it has to survive, and such type of modified stem is called Cladiophils. So what are Cladiophils? Cladiophils are the branches of the stems which are of limited growth and perform photosynthetic activity. Coming to the example of Cladiophils, we have asparagus, which is the best example, and next we have bulbils. What are bulbils? The floral or vegetative buds in some plants get modified to store food materials. So here what we have to remember for bulbils, the vegetative or floral buds gets modified to store food materials, and when they get detached from the parent plant, they develop adventitious roots and help in vegetative propagation. These bulbils not only store food but also help in vegetative propagation by developing adventitious roots. These structures are called as bulbils. Examples: Dioscorea and agave. So what are bulbils? The floral or vegetative buds which are get modified to store food materials, and when they get detached from the parent plant, they develop adventitious roots and help in vegetative propagation. These structures are called as bulbils. The structures which develop adventitious roots and help in vegetative propagation as well as storage of food materials in some plants are called as bulbils. The examples for such are Dioscorea and agave. I gave the diagram of agave here. Coming to underground stem modifications. So what are underground stem modifications which we can see? In some plants the underground stem show modifications. So why these stems show modifications? Such stems, in order to perform various activities, storage of food and all, they store and they become modified stems. Such modifications are called underground stem modification, as these are shown by the stem parts which are under the ground, and these called as stem modifications. So the following are the examples of stem modifications. What are they? Runners, suckers, stolons, offset. So runners, suckers, stolon and offset are the 4 different types of underground stem modifications. Coming to runners, in some grasses and subaerial plants, the stems spread to new niches and form new plants when the older ones dies. So in some grasses and some aerial plants, the stem spreads to new niches and forms new plants, and when the older one dies, these spreaded parts or spreaded plant stems will grow into new ones. Such modifications of stem are called runners. Examples we have grass, strawberry, oxalis. So in some grasses and subaerial plants like strawberry and oxalis, we can observe that the stems are spreading into the new niches and forming new plants, and when new plants, how the new plants form, these old ones will die and these which are grown in new niches develops into new plants, and these modifications we call as runners. It is stolons. In some plants, a lateral slender branch arises from the base of the main axis. So in some plants we can observe that lateral slender branch arises from the main base of the main axis. On the base of the main axis, a lateral slender branch arises, and after growing aerially for some time, what happens? These branches which develop or grow will arch downwards and bending toward the earth surface and touches the ground and produce adventitious roots. These roots developing, they grow into a new plant. Such slender branches of the stem are called stolons. In simple, if you want to talk about stolons, we can say that from the main base of the plant, a lateral slender branch arises, and these grow aerially up to some extent, and then it falls down and touches the earth surface or the ground and produces adventitious roots. Such stems are called stolons. Coming to the examples of stolons, we have nerium and jasmine. So next, offset. In aquatic plants, generally we see offsets in aquatic plants. A lateral branch of one internode length bears a rosette of leaves at each node, and a tuft of balancing roots arise from the base of the discoid stem. So in aquatic plants, we can observe that a lateral branch which is of one internode length is developed, and it bears a rosette of leaf, a bunch of leaves at each node, and a tuft of balancing roots which arise from the base of that rosette of leaves. Such modified structures are called offset. Examples: Pistia and Eichhornia. In Pistia and Eichhornia, which are aquatic plants, a lateral branch of one internode length bears a rosette of leaves at each node and a tuft of balancing roots. Such modified structures are called as offsets. Next we have suckers. What are suckers? The lateral branches which originate from the basal and underground portions of the main stem. Suckers are nothing but the lateral branches which arise or originate from the basal and underground portions of the main stem. These structures grow horizontally beneath the soil and then come out obliquely upward, giving rise to the leafy shoots. These branches of the stem are called suckers. So the lateral branches which originate from the base or underground portion of the main stem grows horizontally, and lateral it comes out obliquely, giving rise to leafy shoots. Such branches of the stem are called suckers. Examples we have banana, pineapple and chrysanthemum. So that's all for now regarding the stem and modifications of the stem. Hope you all are understanding my concept. If you have any doubts, please comment us. We will get back to you. Don't forget to share with your friends and support us by subscribing and liking our video. Thank you.